Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
It was just one of those things. Just one of those crazy things. One of those bells that now and then rings. Just one of those things. It was just one of those nights. Just one of those fabulous flights. A trip to the moon on gossamer wings. Just one of those things. If we thought of it, about the end of it.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I want to say a quick thank you to my guest on last week's episode, political activist musician Sam Daly Harris, speaking about the election results. So go check that out if you haven't heard it. And you can listen to all of our episodes, actually, at entertalkradio.com/makingit, or download our app and take us with you. Also, be sure to tune in next week to hear my conversation with luthier Rick Turner. I'd like to take a moment to also thank the companies that help me sound my best, whether I'm performing live or in the studio, recording and producing music. Blue Microphones, Taylor Guitars, Duesenberg Guitars, Seymour Duncan Pickups, Mesa Boogie Amps, Diodario Strings and Planet Waves, Motu Digital Performer, IK Multimedia, Fishman Acoustic Amps, and Exotic Effects. So often I get asked questions about the creative process. So I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest this week is Billy Stritch, an award-winning composer, arranger, vocalist, and jazz pianist of extraordinary range and sophistication. Billy Stritch breathes new life into the Great American Songbook, all the while bringing an easy sense of humor and showmanship to his performances. Born and raised in Sugar Land, Texas, Billy Stritch got his start at age 12 playing piano at the neighborhood First Presbyterian Church. Word spread about the child prodigy, and the local country club hired him for a 4-year weekly gig in the piano bar. The dreaded requests came in droves, prompting Billy to rush home and learn all the requisite standards, which would subsequently fill his tip bowl. Inspiration came from jazz greats like Oscar Peterson and George Shearing, but his older sister's love for Elton John and Billy Joel opened up a new world of pop music, which informs his playing to this day. After being turned on to singers like Mel Torme, Ella Fitzgerald, Mark Murphy, and Carmen McRae, Stritch started to find his own voice to use in conjunction with the piano mastery. Billy Stritch has collaborated with a diverse group of artists, including Liza Minnelli, Jim Caruso, Marvin Hamlish, Michael Feinstein, Mel Torme, Carol Channing, Natalie Cole, and currently Tony Bennett. Please welcome my guest today, Billy Stritch. Hey, Billy.
Hey there. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And you?
Well, that bio sounds sounds fantastic. I love it. Thank you.
Isn't that? Yeah, you're pretty impressed with yourself, aren't you?
I'm listening back, going, wow, that's impressive.
I know, it's really funny well, it is impressive to me also when I went. We're friends, but to still go and research further into your background to prepare for this show. I find, it was very impressive to me, but it is funny because when we look at our credits on a piece of paper, all of us artists, we kind of, in some ways, can't believe that that's really us that they're reading about. You know, I hear that from most of my guests, so it's pretty funny.
When I hear you read it, it is like, oh wow, I did do that, and I did do that.
Did.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're just going along with your career and life and it's all happening, it's like you tend to forget, things you've done in your past. But it's a nice reminder, it definitely is. And, it's a lot of variety in that list too. So that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a nice reminder of that, that you're doing things right, and I know that you are led by the music, and I think most of the choices that you've made in your life have been based on what you wanted to do next musically, or what you intuitively knew would be good for you. And is that true?
Yeah. Well, I'd say that's true. I think, I've had kind of a charmed career. I mean, a lot of people say it's being in the right place at the right time, but it's also having the talent to kind of back that up. But There have been instances where I was definitely in the right time, right place, the right time, when things came along. So, and there've been a lot of moments where I'm like, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen next. And then lo and behold, something great comes along and everything kind of changes. And, that's this crazy business, I mean, the downside is that it's not week to week, same salary and everything, but there are definitely peaks and valleys. But the upside is that you get to meet fantastic people and go to some great places and hopefully entertain people and lift their spirits for an hour or two. And that's I feel like that's a real gift. It's something I can't claim credit for. I feel like it was something that I was gifted with, and I love being able to share that and have opportunities to take that out there into the world.
Right. Like you said to me previously, we're in the happiness business. Yes,
absolutely. I was reminded of that, last week, this crazy week that's going on, and everything that happened, it's like, we just have to go on and keep doing what we do, and people are luckily hopefully always going to want to be entertained and always want to have a little bit of uplift and escape, from things that are going on. So I find that to be true. I did a show Monday night at Birdland with a couple of wonderful singers. We'd never done it before. A couple of great Broadway girls, Aisha DeHaas and Carpathia Jenkins. And that's the response that I got from so many people after the show. We're so glad we came out to see the show because it really lifted us up, and that's the intent. But, to hear that is such a great validation of all that, to get that immediate response, So it's a nice reminder, it keeps me humble and it keeps me on track.
And the other thing you were saying, you never really know. It's always our salaries are up and down, and sometimes there's work and sometimes there isn't, and you don't know what happens next. But the other side of that, and the beautiful side of that, is that allows you to be open and ready to get a phone call like the one that you recently got from Tony Bennett saying, you want to come join my band.
Absolutely. I mean, it really came out of the blue. Yeah.
It did?
It's fantastic. Yeah, it kind of did. I mean, it was really weird how it happened. I was invited by, I'm sure it's a friend of yours, Greg Field, who plays drums, and he's a producer, and he works a lot with Kevin Spacey. So he called me up beginning of September and said, "Hey, Kevin is singing on this Tony Bennett 90th birthday show at Radio City Music Hall, and would you play piano for him? We need to rehearse." And at that point, it was just to come in and rehearse a couple of songs. So I said, absolutely. And so we had the rehearsal. At the end of the rehearsal, Kevin said, "Well, hey, aren't you available to do the gig?" And I'm like, yes, I'm available to do the gig. So that was on September 15th, I think. We taped the show. And I just played for Kevin, I mean, it was for Tony, and there was a lot of other musicians playing for other people, but I was just there for Kevin. And then I was in the green room later on after Kevin had done the show before Tony went on. And I've met Tony over the years. I've actually worked with him a couple times when he was doing things with Liza Minnelli. So our paths have crossed. So I just went over, wished him a happy belated birthday, told him how happy I was to be on this gig and how great it was to see him and all that stuff. That was really the extent of our conversation. And 4 days later, my phone rings, and the phone says no caller ID. And I know that when that comes up, it's like usually either Liza calling or it's somebody else who I won't name, but that's like, and so, normally I wouldn't pick it up, but I pick it up, and it's Tony Bennett himself calling me up on a Saturday afternoon saying, "Hey, would you be interested in maybe coming out on the road with me? And I said, boy, would I ever, but so it really did. I mean, I have to think maybe it was because I'd seen him a few nights before,
sure,
but, I didn't have any inclination that he was looking to make a change or anything like that.
Right.
So, that was about 6 weeks ago, and we've now done about 14 shows together. So
that's fantastic.
It immediately jumped right in. So it's really been fun. But you're right. It's about these things can happen, and they just happen out of the blue, and all of a sudden your life takes a turn you weren't expecting. So
right, yeah,
yeah.
So we already jumped into our conversation, but I wanted to start off our interview with a quote about you from Liza Minnelli that I didn't read. I actually heard on the Charlie Rose show when you had performed together. And Liza, which by the way, I loved your performance in that. You were fantastic, and you had so much charisma as well as beautiful musicianship, playing and singing. I just was riveted to that episode. I just saw it the other day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. That was a while back. I'm glad you looked it up.
Yeah, it was. But it still holds up. It really shows the friendship musically and personally that you both have. But also it really shows the depth of your talent as an artist, not just as a piano player backing up another artist. And what Liza said about you is nobody treats a song the way Stritch does. It comes from a musician's point of view. He just comes at it in a different way. He goes inside the song somewhere to find what it's really about. And I love that she said that about you. And it's obvious that you both have a great deal of love and respect for each other as artists. What's your story and relationship with Liza?
That's a lovely, lovely thing to be reminded of. I'd kind of forgotten that. I haven't seen that. That interview was from the 90s. So it's lovely. She's a darling. She and I became close right off the bat. I'll preface it by saying that I grew up being a fan of hers. I remember being aware of her. I was probably 1972. She had that big year when she did the movie Cabaret, and she also had the Liza with the Z special on television. So it was really a banner year for her. And I remember seeing Liza with the Z on television. I'm a kid growing up in Texas, right? So, and I bought the soundtrack album for that. I was just very infatuated with this performer, and the way she had captivated an audience. I mean, I think from a young age, I was really into singers, and I was really into performers and the showbiz of it all, in addition to the music of it. So anyway, so flash forward, I spend all of the 80s working with a vocal group that I had called Montgomery, Plant, and Stritch. And we met in Houston. We traveled all over the world. We worked a lot in New York City, and really had a good run for almost 9 years.
As well as playing festivals around the world.
Oh, yeah. We did the JVC Festival at Carnegie Hall. We did the Newport Festival in '88. A lot of the European jazz festivals. I mean, we really had a nice run, especially for a vocal group, because that's a little on the fringes of jazz, But we were jazz, but we also had comedy stuff, and we very much were geared to nightclubs. But we did well on the festivals. But we were working a lot in New York at the Algonquin and the Oak Room and the Carlisle Hotel and places like that. And anyway, the group, we disbanded at the end of 1990. And so here I am thinking, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I decided that it was time for me to really make a permanent move to New York. Up to that point, we have been working a lot in New York, but still based out of Houston. So I made the move to New York, and a really good friend of mine named Bob Nahas said, hey, I'll give you a couple nights a week at my restaurant playing. He had a piano bar in this new restaurant that he was opening up. So I was thrilled to get it. So I started doing, I guess it was Tuesdays and Fridays or something like that. And I would come in, and invariably he would say, oh, Liza was in last night. You just missed her, So I this happened 3 or 4 times. But so in the back of my mind, I think, well, one of these nights, she's going to be here and we're going to meet. Well, sure enough, that happens. Right. And, I walk in for my shift. There's basically no one in the restaurant, at the beginning of my shift. But I see these 4 women sitting at a table way in the back of the room, all dressed in black. And Bob walks by and goes, that's Liza with a couple of her dancers. She was just at that, she was starting rehearsal for a big show she did at Radio City Music Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So she was there with some of her girls from the show. And so I'm sitting at the piano thinking, well, this is the night I'm going to meet her. Well, okay, so most guys, I think, who were playing the piano, they would sit down and they would immediately start to play Cabaret or New York, New York, or something like that. I thought, that is way too on the nose. You know, I am not going to be that guy. So I'm just playing, you know, a little mellow music. And then all of a sudden I remembered one of the great movie themes, and it's a movie that I've loved forever. It's a film called The Bad and the Beautiful. And it was directed by Liza's father, Vincent Minnelli. And it has this fantastic theme written by the great David Raxon. And so I start playing this, and I'm about 12 bars into it, and all of a sudden I see her across the room get up. And she starts walking to me, big smile on her face.
Right.
And I'm looking at her, I'm smiling at her, but all of that thinking, holy crap, here she is. She's coming over here. She's coming to talk to me. And she sits right next to me, and she goes, how do you know that song? And I said, well, it's really from one of my favorite movies. She goes, you know, my father directed that. I said, yeah, I know that. And so, you know, it's the rest of the night's kind of a blur, but I remember she didn't go back to finish her meal. She just sat next to me, and then the other girls finished. They started coming over. More and more people came over. One of the girls that was with her was Lisa Mordente. She called her mom Cheetah Rivera. And said, you got to get over here. Now, I'd met Cheetah before when I had my group. So she and I were always already kind of friends. So anyway, by the end of the night, the piano bar is packed. We're singing. Liza's singing. Everything is singing. And she said, you know, we're rehearsing this show at Radio City Music Hall. Why don't you come by? And, you know, you're welcome to come by and come hang out. So I said, sure, I'll do that. So I think that was a Saturday night. On Monday, I show up at 890 Broadway. And they're already starting rehearsal. Well, it was a show she did with 12 women, and there was a lot of vocal stuff involved in it. And that being my background, I just come off of working with a vocal group. You know, I found that Billy, as I was hanging out, they would...
I have to interrupt. I'm so sorry. We're coming into our first break, so we are going to
take a break, and I'll wrap it up on the other end.
Yeah, and then we'll finish the story about your first encounter with Liza Minnelli.
Okay.
And I'm here with the wonderful Billy Stritch. Stick around.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
I want to be no one but me. I am in love with a lover who likes me just the way that I am. I have my faults. She likes my faults. I'm not very bright, but she's not very bright, and she thinks I'm grand. That's grand for me.
Welcome back, and I'm here with my guest, Billy Stritch, and you just heard one of his songs. That sounds great. I really enjoy.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you picked 3 good ones for the show today.
Good. I'm glad.
So you were just telling the story about meeting Liza, and really about being in the right place at the right time.
Well, it's just a example of being in the right time in the right place, kind of with the talent to back it up. So anyway, I'll just wrap it up. So we've had this incredible night at the piano bar. She invites me to come to sit in on rehearsals. So I go to rehearsal the next Monday at this great rehearsal place, 890 Broadway, where so many shows started. And I walk in, and she's there, but also Fred Ebb, her fantastic director and lyricist, Bill Lavorgna, her musical director at the time, great drummer, Peter Howard, great dance arranger. I mean, all these wonderful people who I already kind of knew by reputation. And this, so there's about 30 people in the room, and they're already rehearsing. But they would take breaks, and like I mentioned, there were 12 girls in this, so there's a lot of vocal stuff in the show. And they were starting to teach vocals, and I was kind of, just me jumping in going, well, what about if she sang this? And what about, just like, should I? And Liza was like, yeah, come on over. Let's do that, So she was like, yeah, come over to the piano. Let's work it out. So I'm already laying out vocal arrangements. Well, about a week into it, because I keep getting invited to come back, she calls me up and she offers me a job on salary. She said, Fred Ebb called me last night. She goes, we got to hire this kid. We're using all of his ideas. We have to put him on staff. I said, fantastic. So I had a job for 6 weeks working on this show with a nice salary. Right. And the show opened to a major success at Radio City Music Hall for like 3-week run. She broke all sorts of records with that. And then that summer she went on the road with it. And we just bonded instantly. I mean, we just became great friends and collaborators. And that has now been 25 years. And so there was a lot of moments where I would think, wow, this was the woman who I was watching on TV, when I was this kid in Texas, Right. And I'll never forget, we did a show in Houston, and we went to my house where I grew up, and my parents gave a little party, and I showed her the house, and I'm like, well, this is the room. This was my room, and this is the room where I used to listen to your records and watch you, It was all kind of surreal. Yeah, but she's the most down to earth. She's so down to earth, and as sweet as she can be. And I wouldn't say she's normal because, showbiz, right. But she is really a darling person and a really good friend, and has been that for me for a long time. And so I've been really lucky, that we fell into each other's path, and right. And it's led to so much because, I've gone around the world with her many times and met incredible people that I would never have met, like Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck, and just these great people who I'd grown up thinking, oh, these icons, that I met through because I knew Liza. So it was very fortuitous for me, I'll say.
Well, fortuitous for both of you, really, from me standing on the outside looking in.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that your grandmother was a... Oh, go ahead, Billy.
No, go ahead. No, yeah.
I'll follow you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about your grandmother. I know she was a big influence on you, and I want to know, what was her name, and how did she guide you towards becoming the artist and the man that you are today?
Well, her name is Mary Alice. She was not a musician, but, she was the only grandparent that I had. Both of my mother's parents died before I was born, and my other grandfather, my dad's dad, died before I was born. So she was the only grandparent that I had, but she was so supportive of my music. And also she would take me to any shows musicals that came through town, plays, everything. I mean, we would go see everything. You know, my parents weren't terribly, they were interested in it, but she had season tickets to everything. So I used to look forward to these Sunday afternoons where she would drive out, pick me up, and we'd go into downtown Houston and we'd see some great musical or some great play. And so it really gave me such a great background at a young age of showbiz and theater and music and performing. And I got to see so many incredible people like, Debbie Reynolds and Shirley MacLaine and Jack Benny and, these great performers that, were, that you could see back then, Right. So, I tell a story in one of my shows, I see she, when I was 10 years old, she gave me the George Gershwin Songbook. I mean, she was hip enough to give me something. I mean, she gave me great gifts, but I mean, she always gave me something that had to do with music, and records and things like that. And I have to say, honestly, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think of her, that she doesn't pop in something, because I know that she would be so happy with the direction my career has gone. Now, she got to know Liza, and she got to meet her many times, and she also got to see me perform at Carnegie Hall. So, I mean, she got to see me do a lot, but, she would love, God, I wish she was still around. She could see me work with Tony Bennett, she could see what's happening, but she's there, as my friend Marilyn May says, she's there. She just has a better seat. She's just looking from above, but she is front and center, and I feel her around me. So the fact that she wasn't a musician, but she's the one that really got that I had a talent that needed to be encouraged and nurtured more so, not to say my parents didn't, but my parents were a little more practical. They were like, well, you should get a business degree, or you should like da-da-da. And my grandmother was like, oh no, he's going to be a musician. He's going to do this. There was never a doubt in her mind. So I thank her for that all the time. So that she was very special and still is. Which means there was never a doubt then in your mind. Well, there really wasn't, I have to say. I just really felt like it was something I was always going to do. I don't really feel like I have a talent, or there was anything. Didn't really ever feel there was anything else I really was talented enough. I guess if I had to pick something, I'm very interested in like psychology, but but I put that to use with the people that I work with too, because I think when you're an accompanist and you're a collaborator, whatever psychology is good with that too. So all these things come into play. So I think there was probably something about me being so focused in that direction and never really having an option of doing something else that kind of maybe made it happen. I think I had that I have to do it kind of thing. So I was lucky in that regard, that I think that's just the way life took me and the way I was guided. And it's, like we said before, there are times when, you may turn the page on the calendar and go, ooh, this next month looks kind of iffy. There's not a lot going on, but the universe is good. And, if you just believe and have faith and believe that it's going to happen, the phone does ring, things pop up. I try to be open to anything that comes along. And I think that's the point. I always tell people starting out, especially actors or singers, people in theater, just say yes to everything. Just show up. The 90% of it is showing up and being available. And, that almost is more important than the talent factor, because people really want to lean on people who are real dependable and who they can rely upon. And those are the people that work all the time, are the people who really show up and they do the job. Now having an incredible talent is the icing on the cake, but that's the thing. Just show up, because people will, that's how you do it. You just have to show up, meet people, network, keep your name out there, keep going for it. And that's how it happens, at least in my case.
In mine as well. Most of my more remarkable career opportunities or experiences came through me being open and saying yes to something that didn't really present itself as on first look as maybe the most interesting choice. But the fact that I said yes to being in a play, being an associate conductor and playing guitar in a play a couple of years ago with Jason Alexander directing, and it led directly to me producing Tony Bennett last year.
There you go. And there you have it.
And see? Yeah. So you were so right.
You just never know.
No. To say
you
yes.
Never know
And to bring your
it really
A game
can
to
change
everything
the course
that you
of
do.
That's the point. You show up and you do your best work. But I mean, you never know. Saying yes to one thing can change the course of the whole next part of your life.
Right.
And just like you said, this thing that you were maybe wasn't quite sure it was in your wheelhouse or didn't excite you, or maybe you were a little scared of. You show up, you do a great job, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in the studio doing something with an icon like Tony.
That's right.
It's like, and that would never have happened had you not said yes. And I've had lots of instances like that too. Just meeting people on the sides, meeting people because I met them at a Liza show or something, and we networked that way. And then all of a sudden I get a call to do something on the side, and it leads to something else great,
Right.
And I think of all the studio experiences that I've had that I wouldn't have had I said no to the first few of them. That's the thing. And then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Oh, I remember this guy. He's good. Let's give him a call." I mean, that's really how that works in the recording world, as you know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
I love that. What now? Tell me what you did with Tony. What record was that? Was that?
It's was a title track for a movie that's coming out this coming year after the new year.
Fantastic.
It's a beautiful documentary, and we ended up. I also produced a song with Dick Van Dyke, and then another one with Alan Bergman and Dave Grusin.
You mentioned you mentioned three of my favorite people right in one sentence. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And
to
and
work
Jason
with
is great.
Maryland.
Jason.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And a wonderful musician as well as director and of course actor.
I know.
Comedian. Yeah.
I know.
So along those lines, even saying yes to opportunities, even if the money might not be what you think it should be because it's theater or playing in a restaurant like you started, but it's work and it's opportunity for you to show up and shine your light, and
that's it.
And again, bring your A game to everything you do, and people notice. I'm so glad that you
they
said
do notice.
That. Yeah. When you were 13, you had your very first job playing at the Quail Valley Golf Club in
yes,
Missouri
I
City.
did.
I love that. And you quickly found out that if you played someone's favorite song, they would put money in the tip jar.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, sure.
How did that really important lesson carry over into your professional career?
Well, I'm so happy that I had that experience because I'll say the funny thing about that gig is that, I was already playing by ear and I knew a lot of, and I knew enough music that I could sit down for a few hours and play songs, so I go and audition for this job at this country club, and they're looking for someone to play from 4:00 to 7:00. So, so I couldn't. The first year I did it, I couldn't drive. I didn't have a driver's license. So my mom would pick me up from high school with my clothes in the back seat. I would jump in the back seat. I'd throw all I had like 4 different outfits, and each one with the tie. I didn't have to wear a suit, a jacket and tie, but I had to wear a tie.
Right.
So I had 4 different. I had like the green outfit, the brown outfit, the blue outfit. So I'm in the back seat changing. She's driving me to this gig, and then either she or my dad would pick me up at 7:00, and I made $10 an hour. Wow. That's 15 hours. That was $150 a week. I was rich, man.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Yes.
But these mostly it was lady golfers who were coming off the golf course, and they would request scotch and soda, or as time goes by, or whatever. And I was like, I don't think I know that. Mm-hmm. But they would sing a little bit. Anyway, I would go home. I would find the sheet music on the weekends. I would beg my mom to take me to the store to get sheet music and stuff like that. This is way before, pre-internet. I mean, that's all changed now. But I learned, I think in the course of those 3 years that I had this gig, I learned all the Gershwin. I learned a lot of Cole Porter. I learned, pretty much I wouldn't say everything, but I learned a big chunk of the Great American Songbook. So by the time I started really working in college and after college, I mean, I knew I could work with almost any singer, because I knew all these songs, and I could sit in anywhere because they would request. And I, by that point, could pretty much play it in whatever key they wanted. Right. And I'm so thankful that I learned all that at such a young age this is another thing that I tell young pianists mainly, learn these songs, learn them now. Don't wait till someone wants you. Just learn a song a week, or learn, just make it your business so that when someone says, let's do In Love in Vain, well, you'll know it. Let's do Can't Help Loving That Man, whatever it is. I know thousands of songs in my head because, first of all, I play by ear. I have a good brain for that. That's a gift. But because I made it my business to know these songs, and it certainly made me a lot more hireable and attractive to singers, that I came in already knowing a lot of this material. So be prepared. That's the thing.
We have a minute before our next break. I wanted to also ask you, were you already singing when you were 13? Was it a piano?
Well, I was a little bit. I sang in, no, that was not. That was just a piano gig. I was singing in church choir and stuff, but I really didn't do piano vocal stuff until I was about 18. After I had a year and a half of college, and then I transferred back to a college in Houston and started doing piano bar. And then I subbed in for a woman who played and sang. So I had to sing, and I could sing, but I'd never occurred to me to do that as part of what I did as a musician.
Did you study formally?
Well, that opened
vocally?
up a whole world. I did later. Like when I was in my 30s in New York. I found a great teacher because I wanted to I wanted to get more range in my singing, more strength, more power. And so I studied for about 6 years with a great teacher up here.
That's
but
great.
At that point, no. Yeah.
We're going into our next break right now. I'm here with Billy Stritch, pianist, vocalist, arranger, producer, friend. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on InterTalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on InterTalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
A stick, a stone, it's the end of the road. It's the rest of the stuff. It's a little alone. It's a sliver of glass. It is light, it's the sun. It is night, it is death. It's a trap, it's a gun. The oak when it blooms, a fox in the brush. The nod of the wood, the song of a thrush. The wood of the wind, a cliff, a fall, a scratch, a lump. It is nothing at all. It's the wind blowing free. It's the end of the slope. It's a beam, it's a void, it's a hunch, it's a hope.
And we are back. That is Aguas de Marzo, Waters of March with Billy Stritch, one of my all-time favorite songs ever.
Oh, me too. It's a song. It's a big old list of things, but it's a fantastic song. I've never been able to really commit all those words to memory. So, whenever I do it, I have the words in front of me because it goes on and on and on. But it's fantastic. It's almost like Zen, the way the song's constructed. It's great.
It is. It's great. You're right. It's a list. It's just a list.
It's a list
of beautiful things.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I love Jobim. I got to meet Jobim in Brazil, on a tour with Liza, and we spent a whole day with him.
You spent the day at his house, right?
We did.
Tell our listeners about that story. Yeah.
Well, we spent the day at his house, and we had lunch, and it was him and his kids and family. It was about 12 of us. And, this was about 2 years before he passed away. He was already pretty old at this point, but, he sang after lunch, there was a lot of wine and smoking and everything was fantastic, and his family sang, everybody got up to sing. And then Liza said to me, "Billy, sing Meditation." And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to sing this song with him.
To the guy who wrote it.
I was to the guy who wrote it. And I sat there and I did it, and I was so nervous, but he was sitting so close to me. But it's truly a moment I'll never forget, because when it was over, he just looked at me and he gave me a little small smile and a little pat on the back. And it's like, well, because he spoke very little English anyway.
Right.
So, I took that to mean it was okay. I guess so.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful moment, and I'm thrilled again through Liza that I got to meet him, and so many great people that I met through that association.
Right.
And I love Brazilian music, I always have. And, I always try to include a little of that in my shows.
I do too. You and I both share a deep love for Brazilian music, and you were deeply influenced by the Amoroso album by João Gilberto and of course Carl Sogerman's string arrangements. And I know you've actually said that I read a quote that you were spellbound by the beautiful romantic guitar and elegant, simple piano. And you've said that the sound of the percussion and the sophistication of the melodies challenged my ear.
They did, and they still do. Jobim to that music is what I feel like Gershwin is to our music. It's just elegant. It is like their classic popular song.
Right.
But it's deceptively simple, but it's so harmonically complex at the same time.
Yes.
And always challenging. There's so much you can do within the framework of these songs, just like a good Gershwin song. There's so many great ways you can interpret it because it's so well constructed, and it's got such great harmonies and such wonderful melody. So I never get tired of it, and it always challenges me listening to it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh, I do as well. I noticed something that when I was in New York a couple of months ago that I found really profoundly different between LA and New York. And it's that there is the New York audiences are so much more supportive when it comes to supporting live music, particularly live jazz. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think New York, New York is no longer the city that never sleeps like it used to be. But I think people really are more tuned to going out in general in New York to clubs. I find in LA, people have to get in the car. They have to go drive. LA's an early to work kind of town, so it's just, there's not so much of a live club scene in jazz. Maybe there is, and I just haven't found it.
There isn't.
But I think, there still is that vibe in New York, in the Village and in Midtown. There's a lot of jazz you could go see, and a lot of cabaret and a lot of singers and all that stuff. And I think it just, I think people are just more tuned to being out later and hanging out. And I think it's just more of a live performance town. I don't really know the reason why. Although what I just said, I think people in LA go to bed earlier. So, it's hard to get people out to your gigs sometimes.
That makes sense.
In LA.
It is. It always is. But it's easier when we're traveling to fill a club than at home. But I also noticed, and I found this really exciting and in a way a relief to me to see that there were so many young people. We went out to a jazz club to hear a quartet of people that I didn't even know who they were, but we went out. It was 11 o'clock at night after we were done working, and the place was packed, mostly with 20-year-olds, young college age kids.
Was it near a college? Was it near New York University or Columbia or someplace like that? Could have been, maybe. That could be part of it.
It might have been.
College kids go out. They do go out. I think so. And I think also when you don't have to drive, that's part of it too. New York, nobody drives. Everybody just walks or takes cabs or gets on the train.
Right.
So you can go out. You can go out and drink and have a good time. You don't have to worry about driving. I think that's part of it. I think that definitely plays into it. People aren't so worried about getting a DWI or something like that.
That's a good point.
Right.
It's true. As a composer, you co-penned the 1994 Grammy Award-winning song "Does He Love You," recorded by Reba McEntire and Linda Davis, which sold over 4 million copies. And
I think it's over 5 now. But who's
over
counting?
5? You need to update your website.
I think it's over 5 now. But like I said, who's counting? But I guess I am.
You should be. I love that your jazz reputation didn't preclude you from writing a hit country song. I just love that. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, the song wasn't written to be a country song. It was written for my vocal group because it was me and 2 girls. And we did a lot of comedy stuff, and we also did some dramatic stuff and Broadway kind of stuff. And so one day we're sitting around, and I have this co-writer named Sandy Knotts, who was at that point living in Houston. We were all in Houston. We got together one day with a bunch of bottles of wine, and we sat together, and we wanted to write something for these 2 women. And she said, "What about if it's a wife and a mistress?" And I said, great. And we went from there, and we wrote this song in an afternoon. It went into the act. This is about 1985. It goes into the act, and it becomes like always our big closing number. We worked a lot of gay bars. Well, they loved it. I mean, the guys loved that song. It was real dramatic. And, wherever we went, that was our closing song, the one that we got the most requests for. And so flash forward to 1993, Sandy's moved to Nashville. She's been in Nashville by this point for a few years. She's a staff writer at a publishing company, and one of her people that she works with heard that Reba McEntire was looking for a duet for 2 women. She had this new singer that she and her husband were managing named Linda Davis. So our song, a demo of our song, got sent to her. She put it on hold. A month later, it was recorded. 6 months after that, it was number 1 on the country chart. It happened really fast. And it was great. And that became a big song for them in live performance too. That song was a big deal. And I think Reba still does it from time to time. I don't think she does it with Linda, but for a while Linda was touring with her as one of her backup girls. So Linda would always step forward and they would do this duet.
Although it's been covered by other country artists as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Martina McBride and Kelly Clarkson did it. And it was also done by Liza. Liza recorded it with Donna Summer on an album we did in 1996 called Gently. Patti LaBelle did it as a solo, not as a duo. She kind of wrote the words took it upon herself to rewrite the words. I mean, who was going to stop her?
Sure.
But and she did that. So it's had a few. It's had a few recordings after the Reba recording. So, it does have a life. And when I did this show last Monday at Birdland with these two girls, Aisha and Carpathia, they did the song. And that was great because, I wrote this song, but I never get a chance to show it off because it's duet for two women. So I can never do it in my show. Right. So I finally had this chance to kind of show it off in a show that I was involved in. So it's fun. It's a good, if your listeners care about it, there's a great video of it. It's called Does He Love You? And there's a great video they did back in the day. And it's Rob Reiner directed it, and it's really a fun video to watch.
And they can find that on YouTube?
Twist at the end. Oh, absolutely. Easy to find. Does He Love You? Reba McEntire.
Hey, speaking of, tell everybody your website. We're also going to put it up on the artist page.
It's BillyStritch.com. It's being renovated at the moment, but hopefully it's going to be all fluffed up very soon. But it's
right. They're changing 4 million to 5 million.
Well, and updating my dates. I got a call. I mean, the dates are out of date. Somebody said, "Oh, here you're going to be working so and so." I said, "That was actually last year." Right. So that's how bad that is. I just haven't really been on top of it like I should be. Sure. But I'm in the process of the update, and also I have this CD of my last CD of Mel Torme songs is available through that website. If anybody wants to obtain it, they can order it off the website, or also on CD Baby, or also on Amazon. So
was that
my website's a good place for that.
What's the name of that record, and was that inspired by you playing with Mel Torme at Carnegie Hall?
It's called the Mel Torme Songbook. Oh, it's called Billy Stritch Sings Mel Torme. Okay. But yeah. And it was inspired just by me being such a fan of his. I never really worked with him in shows, but our paths crossed a lot. Right. And we opened for him at Carnegie Hall, and he was really supportive and just a great person to know. And I'm friends with his son, and that connection goes on. But I just loved his music, and people would tell me over the years, "Oh God, your voice reminds me a little bit of Mel Torme. It has a little bit of that sound, And so finally, a few years ago, I thought, well, I should just do an album of this material. And it's some things he wrote, but it's mainly songs that I know he loved because he recorded over and over and over again. So it's really a lot of his favorite music, right? That I felt, that I did with the Great Trio here in New York. So.
You were mentioning Birdland, the legendary Manhattan Jazz Club, and you're there with your buddy Jim Caruso, who you've been friends with over 30 years, hosting.
Oh God, 35 years almost. Yeah, we've been doing Cast Party now for 15 years. Hard to believe, but it's this extreme open mic. It's a fantastic. I mean, I say open mic, and people go, "God, I've been to open mics." Well, this is like a cut above
extreme open mic. It's great.
Well, we really get the cream of the crop of Broadway singers and jazz singers. I mean, and because it's on a Monday night, usually people are off. Performers are off on Mondays, right. So we get a nice big crowd every Monday at 9:30 at Birdland, right in the heart of Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan. If anyone's coming to visit, come check us out because it is a lot of fun.
It sure is. I can say from personal experience, it's an amazing show, and it's never the same twice. And
never the same. No. Absolutely. It's always different.
You've taken it around the country to Los Angeles, Las Vegas, my hometown, Miami. Yeah.
We have. We're about to do a series of 5 of them down in Delray Beach, Florida, starting on December 7th. We'll be there December, and then again February, March, April, and May. So we're doing 5 different nights of that. So we take it wherever we can take it, wherever they want it and wherever they'll have us, and like to feature local talent that way. We've come to Vegas many times. There's so much great talent in Vegas. We've come to LA. That's the last time I saw you was probably the one in LA, I imagine.
Right. Yeah. That is the last time we saw you.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking for another venue there, but so if you hear of something, let us know because we're missing. We haven't been there in a couple of years now. We're missing it. So
okay, yeah, it's time to bring you guys back. Yeah, absolutely.
It's time. It's definitely time for sure. It's a lot of fun.
That's an understatement. It's a really fun on every level. We have about 2.5, 3 minutes left, and I always like to end with a question to my guest. And here it is. At this point of your life,
okay,
with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, well, okay. Well, let's see. That's an interesting question. Well, the things that I learned later, that I probably could have known younger, just absolutely show up, say yes to everything. Things we've already covered, actually.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't be surprised at anything that can happen in show business, because anything does happen. I think I was actually kind of came into it pretty prepared. I was a pretty sophisticated kid. So, even though I grew up in Texas, I kind of was pretty savvy as I look back at my younger self. Just be open, be willing, be gracious, be, this is what I'd say to any young people, actually, but, and just keep sharing that gift. That's the point, because I do really feel the older I get, the more I'm convinced that it is a God-given universe, whatever you call it. But, for me, it's a God-given talent, and, it's my only obligation is to share it and nurture it and keep putting it out there, and I think with anybody like that, you really do have an obligation to share your gift. That's the thing. Don't keep it hidden. Don't turn that light off. Keep it shining. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a funny life. Life goes fast, not to get too, get too serious, but
you can.
It's funny, the older you get, the quicker it goes. And that is really, really true. I mean, time does change like that. So, that's one thing I just as I'm saying that, it's hard to say that to a young person or to your younger self, or to believe that when you're young, you've got your whole life ahead of you. But, it goes fast. It goes really quickly. A year ago, I'm putting together, we're about to do our Christmas show again. And I was saying to one of the girls, didn't we just do this show? It's true. Every year goes quicker than the one before. So, just latch onto everything. Try to be present in every moment. That's it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this hour with you. I'm here with my
What
dear
a fun
friend.
interview.
Thank you, Billy. Everybody go to
You're
Billy
a great
Stritch's
interviewer.
website. Oh, I appreciate that.
Okay.
You make it easy. Go to Billy's website or go to entertalkradio.com and you can hear more about Billy Stritch. See you next week.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woolman.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.